Hello and welcome to the Very Little Podcast. I'm Marsha, also known as Very Little, and this is my podcast all about knitting. Today I'm going to talk to you about what I've been working on and finished objects and a little bit of jibber jabber at the very end. It is glorious May out there and the Sorrento knitting retreat is coming up. It's at the end of the month and I'm so excited. This is going to be an amazing weekend. A lot of old friends getting together, a lot of new friends, and a lot of knitting, and I'm so excited. This event happens at there's a Sorrento retreat center in Sorrento, British Columbia, and it is the center is focused on healing, and so you definitely get that sense of calm and peace when you arrive, and I'm really excited about going. I went last year, I've gone for the last few years, and it's always such an amazing time. I'm going to be teaching there this year. I'm going to be teaching a Brioche class with a co-instructor. Her name's Rebecca, and she is so lovely. And the whole time we've been working on our class plan and what we're going to be doing, we've been on the same page. And I don't know if you've ever worked with somebody and just wanting the exact same thing, and the whole time when you're bringing up ideas, they're like, me too, and then they bring up an idea and I'm like, yeah, that's what I was thinking. It just makes the whole thing go so much easier and way more stress-free. It's just so amazing. So I'm definitely looking forward to Sorrento. That's actually the place that I started knitting this design that I have created that is going to be out soon. I'm just getting charts made for it, and then I'll have some test knitters testing it, and then it will be out to the world, and I'm very excited about that. Also, a little bit of a note as well, that I am going through my old patterns and adding charts to the ones that need charts, and those will be sent out to you as an update if you've already purchased those patterns, and so the charts will just be included in the pattern, and then if you want to go by the chart, you can just print off the new pattern or download it to your device or whichever, and then you'll be able to just follow the pattern straight off there. I have definitely been bit by the knitting bug. And I have been knitting like crazy. One of the things that I have been knitting, and I'm going to show you my finished object now because I'm wearing it and I've already started talking about it, so might as well just continue on. So this is the Pasqua shawl. It just needs charts, and then it will be going to test knitters and being tested, and then it will be released. It is a circular shawl, pie shawl, and this is it done in 3 colors, and this is in 1 color. So it is gorgeous. It is so stunning. It is huge. It takes 3 skeins of yarn, and I used Sweet Fiber in the denim colorway in her super sweet sock base, and it is 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, and it's a dream to knit with. I knit with 3 skeins of this, and this is how much I have left over after completing it. This one, I wanted to knit it in just 1 color because sometimes it's difficult to imagine what a 3-color shawl would look like in just 1 color, and some 3-color shawls, the color change is what defines the pattern. In this one, the color changes don't define the pattern, and so it's gorgeous with or without the 3 colors. You could do it in 1 color, you could do it in 2 colors, or you could do it in the 3 colors. So the pattern is written for 3 colors, but instead you would just go ahead and knit it just all in 1 color. So it is very large. It is so squishy and luscious and so nice to wear. And I enjoy a large shawl. If you've looked at my patterns that I have out, most of my shawls are large. I think I have 2 patterns that are smaller shawls, and those are just like, they're 1 skein shawls, which are really nice. They're great for traveling and great for just throwing on and that sort of thing. But this shawl is just so luscious and huge, and it looks like it would be difficult, but it's not. It really isn't. The most difficult section in here is this lace section. And there is something going on for each row in this lace section, but it's still easy to, if you can read your knitting, it's easy to read what the next step is. And then this section here, this little lace section here, very easy. This one looks like it would be difficult, but there's only something going on every fourth row for the edging. So it's so nice. It was wonderful to work on. And it's one of those knits that when you get into it, it's just very meditative. You can't really be focused on the world around you when you're knitting it, because you do need to know where you are in it, but also it just kind of makes everything else just melts away, and this gorgeous shawl comes out. I love this shawl, and it's very interesting because I was speaking with somebody a couple months ago about my designs, and I didn't really realize, I think I may have mentioned this before at the time, that because as a designer you kind of develop your own style and your own kind of style look, you know, and I just wasn't focused on what my look was going to be. I never have. I just am designing things that I'm enjoying knitting. But somebody described my designs as feminine. And yeah, I would say a good portion of them are very feminine. I do enjoy lace. And it doesn't have to be a super like feminine lace. I just enjoy the interest that lace provides. Lace, as soon as I learned how to do lace, it was, my world opened up and light shone from the heavens. I just enjoy lace so much, and I know that lace isn't for everybody, and there's certain laces that some people aren't interested in, but I am definitely one of those people that can dig into some lace, and really I enjoy the process. I enjoy what the lace looks like before you block it and before it blooms and opens up. I like seeing that transformation from something that looks like just a weird heap into something that just opens up into like this beautiful flower. That's the best way I can describe it, and I love it so much. It's just, yeah, I'm waxing poetic. I really loved this knit. It's going to be really nice when I have the chart written up. I didn't do it from a chart. I did it from written directions for myself. I can go either way. I can do a chart or from written directions. I'm comfortable with both. But I find that some people are much more comfortable with it written out, and some people are much more comfortable with a chart. So I want to be all inclusive with my designs, and I want to make sure that if you are chart exclusive, that there's a chart in there for you to follow. So that's kind of the thing that's holding this one back right now. And like I said, I am adding charts into my older designs, and those will be, as soon as the charts are added into them and they're re-updated, then on the page, the introduction page, I will also include that it is charted as well, because that will just make it easier to find and for you to see. So I have been knitting exclusively on something. So I think that this is going to be a shorter episode because I knit this, I finished this and blocked it, and I finished it the day after I podcast last week, and then I blocked it and it took about 2 days to dry. And then I was knitting exclusively on my second poncho. So this is my poncho, and it doesn't have a name yet. I'm still thinking of it. I've been kind of noodling around a couple different names for it, and it's coming along very well. I'm almost to the section where you split for the sleeves. So it's a top down, and you start by, you just cast on, and then you pick up for around the collar. And the reason I did it like that is because the actual cast on stitches, because they're a little bit tighter, it actually adds a little bit more structure to it, so the neckline won't sag and stretch out. So so that's why I did that. And it's quite a large neckline anyway, without actually adding on the ribbing. So this is how far I am, and it's coming along really well. I'm actually housing it in two different things. It's living in my Frog Peak Creations bag, and this is it. You can find Frog Peak Creations on Etsy, and I was out and about yesterday, and my bag was sitting on the top of my basket, which is what I've been carrying everything in for the past week, and there's these angry knitters on there, which is super cute. And this little girl saw my bag, and she was like, they're angry. And I said, yeah. And her mom said, do I look like that when I knit? And the little girl said, no. And I said, guess what's inside? Because she couldn't see. And I said, it's angry knitting. But it's not angry knitting. But this is the bag. It's it has some nice striped fabric on the inside, and then I'm housing all my yarn. And my husband asked me a question about my bag, because he said, you know, you can't knit an entire skein in the hour-long period of time when we're not going to be at home for whatever it is we're doing, but yet you bring all of your yarn. And I'm wondering, does anybody else do that? Because I just assume that I might run out of yarn, so I just bring everything, so it's always with me. And I don't know if anybody else does that, or if you just bring what you need when you're working on a larger project that calls for quite a few skeins. So just let me know down below. This is Barocco Remix Light. It's 100% recycled fiber, and it is a light gauge yarn. It's probably like a heavier fingering, maybe a light DK. It looks like it's a 2-ply. It's 30% nylon, 27% cotton, 24% acrylic, 10% silk, and 9% linen. And I chose this yarn for its linen content because that's what I'm looking for in this poncho, is the linen content. I'm hopefully going to be having photos taken of my poncho later this week. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that will happen, and then I will have some really good photos that I'll be able to share with you. And so I'm knitting them on high sharps, and they have the blue cable. These are my favorites, and generally speaking, that's what I knit on. I have a couple different kinds that I have as well, but the high sharps are my favorite. I'm allergic to nickel, and these are stainless steel, so that just is way nicer on my hands. My fingers don't dry out or chap because of them, and they're very smooth. I've never had a problem with them. The joins are nice, the tips are nice and pointy, so that's really good when you're knitting lace, is having a nice pointy tip. But I like a pointy tip for everything because it just speeds up my knitting. I am on my second skein, I do believe. 2 skeins in. Yes. I'm on my second skein of yarn. So, and it's almost half done. So that is coming along. And hopefully by the next time I podcast, you'll be able to see this one finished, and then I will cast something else on. I've got so many things bubbling around in my mind. I have some other patterns that I need to get working on. I have a cardigan and another top that need to be graded, and they need to be, I need to re-knit them, and then I need to test knit them, send them out to testers. But they're sitting there as well. So I have about 5 or 6 patterns that are just designs that are kind of on the back burner that I really want to just sink my teeth into and get knitting. And I'm a fairly quick knitter, but I really, at this point right now, I'm loving knitting so much that I wish that I could knit even faster, because I just want everything. I just want to knit everything. And I know that's why I'm making sure that I'm not picking up other things right now, because I don't want to cast on 15 things and then get nothing accomplished, because I still have, I'm just looking around here, I still have quite a few projects that do need to be done. And there's one here that that I did mention a few episodes ago that I said would probably be done by the next time I podcast. And it in fact is not. It's still sitting here because I was chewing on whether I wanted it to be finished or not finished for the class that I'm teaching. And so I think I've decided I want it finished. I'm still on the fence. So this is what it is. It's a scarf, and it's brioche, so it's two-sided, which brioche is so lovely and squishy and luscious, and I love it. Oh my goodness. If there's one stitch you learn today, learn brioche. I mean, not today, but this year. This year. If you have a goal to learn a new stitch this year, make it brioche. If you don't know brioche. If you know brioche. Awesome. So this is the Brioche Basic Scarf by Suzanne Summer. And you can find this pattern on Ravelry. It is free. So if you are interested in learning how to brioche, or you have basic brioche and you want to learn how to do increases and decreases and that sort of thing, then this is a great pattern for you. That's why I chose it for the class that I'm teaching as the extra project. If people get done the actual learning part, then that's the pattern I want them to do, because it's such a well-written pattern. It's free, so you can go and download it, and there are tons of there's a photo tutorial in the back of the pattern. So I just find that there's a lot of value in that pattern, even though it's free, or especially because it's free. So if you're looking for a really nice brioche pattern to knit and you're just getting started, I definitely recommend this one. And you can, it's on Ravelry, so go and take a look. And I'm sure she would appreciate if she was seeing more people downloading her pattern, because also it gets her name out there as a designer as well. So it's just, yeah, it's just amazing. I did speak with her about using her design in my class, and she is totally fine with that. I was going to design something myself, but I just have been overwhelmed with a whole bunch of other things going on, like the house claim that we're dealing with and stuff. So this was an amazing option, and she said, absolutely, just please let people know where to get the design and who designed it, etc. And so giving all the credit to her, absolutely. And I appreciate that she has said that we could use this pattern. So if you're interested, please go and download it and have fun knitting it. And you know, it would be amazing is if you guys do knit this scarf, if you could tag me in it. That would be wonderful on Instagram. So the yarn I used was Malabrigo Rios for both of them, and the cream color is natural and the green is lettuce. So they look fabulous together. They're high contrast. They just make me super happy, and I want to knit a bunch more of these scarves because it was so simple, like so just relaxing to knit. And in the beginning you get to do a little bit of increases and decreases, and it just gives an amazing look, and it gets you into right into learning that. And then you get a nice long break for as long as you make the scarf, and then you add this in at the other end, and again it's just so nice to knit. So the Rios, if you've never knit with it before, it is Pure merino superwash, 210 yards per skein. So I had to get 4 skeins for the length of scarf that I wanted instead of just 2. You could make a shorter scarf and just use 2, but it's just I think 4 is a good length, and I didn't use the whole all 4. I just used a good chunk, and what I'm thinking of doing with the remainder, what's left over, is making a matching hat or something, which will be a lot of fun. So it's made in Peru, kind of all over the place, I'm sorry. And it's really, really nice yarn to use. It's very soft. It's more of a slippery yarn, which with brioche, some people recommend you use a grabbier yarn with brioche. You can see the importance of that if you don't want your stitches to flatten or sag or drag, because you want the fibers in the grabbier yarn to support it so that it doesn't stretch out. So if you were knitting something, say you were knitting a cardigan, and in brioche, it is, because of the nature of the stitch, it will stretch. So if you're using a superwash yarn for a cardigan and you're knitting brioche, the superwash yarn grows all on its own anyway. It's just the nature of the superwash yarn. So when you knit something in superwash, it will grow and stretch. But if you're knitting something that's brioche and in a superwash yarn, that's just magnified, that it will stretch even more, it'll grow even more. So if you are doing for example, a cardigan or a top that is that you're knitting in a superwash yarn, it is very, very important that you swatch. Very important, because it will grow, and it will actually, your swatch won't even grow as much as a full sweater would, because of the weight of the yarn on it. So in a little swatch, it's not going to have as much weight pulling down on it as something larger. So if you were, like, for example, if I was to knit a cardigan or a sweater out of this superwash yarn, this Brioche, something that would work well for me to understand how much stretch is going to happen with that is to knit a scarf out of it, because when you have all of that weight, it's going to pull. So you can see how much stretch it's going to have down and out. So when it pulls down, it actually tightens up the stitches in between, so you can't see them as much when you get all that pull. But it's good to know, because if my sweater's going to be this long, this isn't even the amount of weight that would be on that sweater, because it would be a larger portion pulling down. But that would give you a good idea that you would need to go down in needle size, maybe a few needle sizes, because of the brioche. And also, you might want to play with a couple different kinds of yarn just to see how it responds, because there would be nothing worse than knitting an entire brioche cardigan or sweater and having it go down to your ankles because it's stretched out so much. So I guess that's kind of a public service announcement, but I love brioche. It is beautiful and amazing. It is very nice to knit. It's repetitive, which I really enjoy. I really enjoy repetitive knitting, but enough interest to keep you interested, I suppose. So that is actually it for knitting content today. I haven't gotten any new yarns or anything to share with you today. So I'm just going to go into jibber jabber. I went to there was a quilt show here in Penticton, and it was wonderful. There was a lady there who did have some fiber, because of the quilters like to use fiber in their quilts, like to embellish their stitches. So I went and took a look at her yarn. I didn't end up buying anything at all from the whole thing, but there were some amazing quilts there, and there was one that I fell in love with, and it's just I can't even describe why, because when you look at it, it's just kind of like one of those, it's a crazy quilt that's like just random pieces put together, and then it's got a whole bunch of doilies attached to it. And I don't know why I like it so much. Like, it's an unreasonable amount that I like this quilt, and it's not, I didn't look at it and say, wow, that's beautiful. I just looked at it and was like, I love it. And it's not like, yeah, there was so many stunning, beautiful quilts there. There was one that looked like it had a reflection of bottles, and that was gorgeous. This other quilt I wouldn't put in the same category, but it just stole my heart. I don't know. I'll put some pictures and you can take a look. And I took some photos of my favorite ones. So that was a lot of fun. And then Sunday, Nick took the girls, and there was an event in town where they were taking children flying in small airplanes. So the girls each got to go in a separate plane because the planes they were in were 2-seaters, and they each got to actually fly the plane for a little while. So that was a lot of fun. They had a great time. And while they were gone, I was at home and I just was knitting, and I packed up a nice picnic lunch. And when they got home, we got in the car and we went for a drive, and we went to a bird sanctuary, and it's got a nice walking path that goes down to this like blind that you can sit in, which was a lot of fun. And as we were walking down, everybody was in front of me, and I took a picture from behind, but I heard a snake going through the leaves. And in this area where we were, there's a few kinds of snakes, and one in particular that I definitely don't want to run into, and that's a rattlesnake. And I didn't see the snake, but I could hear it, and I don't know what it was. So I don't know if it was a rattlesnake or if it was another kind of snake, but I could just hear it going through the leaves, but I couldn't see it. And so I just stopped and waited and I could tell that it was moving away from me, which is good, because I'm not the biggest fan of those sorts of things. So yeah, so it was going away from us. We went out to the blind, and they had built this brand new blind, and it's 3 stories, and it's gorgeous. The view is amazing. And then from there, we went to this place, then open house. It's called Sorco, and it is a rehabilitation place for owls, and it's for birds of prey. So owls, eagles, hawks, and they bring in these birds that have been electrocuted, that have been hit by vehicles, that have ingested like mice that have been poisoned, because some people lay out poison for mice, and then an owl come down and eat this poisoned mouse, and it can really cause them, it can actually kill them. But if they get to them soon enough, there's an antidote that they can be given, and they can be rehabilitated, but they usually will have a little bit of damage. One of the birds there, he's an owl, and his name is Houdini, and he's been there for years. He fell since the year 2000. He was grabbed out of his nest with his siblings were there by a crow, and because crows attack owls, if you have never heard of that. and this crow grabbed this baby owl and dropped him on the ground, and he fell about 50 feet, and he broke his hip, and he had some eye damage and some brain damage, but he's been there for years and years. They fixed him up, he's all good, but he will never go back out in the wild. So their goal is to get them back out into the wild, and they will be released where they were found. So because that would be their territory. So if something has happened and they are able to be returned back to their homes, then that's what happens with them. And if they're unable to be released, then they're kept in a safe enclosure that they will just eat like like little bird kings and queens and live happily ever after. So it was really good to get out there. There's a lot of nature birders that were there, and a lot of things were set up for natural parks and that sort of thing, which was really interesting. There's a lot going on in the Okanagan Valley as far as that's concerned. And yeah, so May Long Weekend is coming up. May Long Weekend is the long weekend here in BC, and I do believe Alberta. I'm not sure about across Canada, but it's kind of like the weekend that kicks off camping season. So everybody uses May Long Weekend to either doing gardening and that sort of thing or going camping. We'll be going camping, I do believe. The area we're going camping, or actually I think we're going to a friend's house, and she has an acreage and it's a beautiful piece of land, and there's a bunch of us going out there to go camping in her back acreage, and which is surrounded by trees. It's a beautiful forest on their property, and it's just amazing. So the summer should be good. I don't know if you noticed, but I have had 2 episodes out 1 week apart. And I'm trying that. I'm not going to say that this is going to be a weekly podcast, but at this point, it works really well for me to record on Mondays. And if I do it, then everything's fresh and I can show you what I've been working on. I don't think it makes for a longer, shorter episode, but it does make it a little bit easier for me in that I know what I finished that week and I can just talk about that. And as far as a recording schedule, it kind of gets me onto a schedule, because I really dropped off after we were dealing with all this stuff this autumn, and this winter it just took it out of me. And so also you'll notice that my editing has become less, because that's the part of the podcasting that is the most time consuming. So I do believe that's it for me for today. I have been really excited on Instagram lately. I've been looking at a ton of stuff. I'm very, very inspired right now. And I am just super excited to be excited about knitting. So I'm also looking at doing a knit along in the autumn. We'll see how that comes about. And I kind of want to do one over the summer, but I'm not sure which direction I'm going to take that, whether it would be on going through Instagram or Ravelry, or what kind of knit along it is. But I'll keep you tuned into that. So stay tuned here for that information. So that's it for me for today. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been great seeing you again. And I hope you're having an amazing week. I hope you have an amazing day. I hope your knitting is being as satisfying as it can possibly be. If you happen to knit any one of my designs, please don't forget to tag me on Instagram. That is where I am most active. And I hope you have an amazing day. And don't forget to subscribe and thumbs up this video if you enjoyed yourself. And until next time.